Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerds on the Couch, a podcast where nerds on a couch talk about nerdy things, most on the couch. I'm Tom, and with me is
Sydney.
And today I got you to watch the first two episodes of one of my favourite anime in recent memory, The Promised Neverland. So Sydney, what do you think?
So to give a little background, The Promised Neverland is produced by Cloverworks Studio. So they're the studio that produced other anime works like Persona 5 the animation, Fairy Tail, and the recent anime series Darling in the Franxx. There are a total of 12 episodes, and the running time is your standard anime, 22 minutes.
Wasn't Darling in the Franxx made by Trigger?
Darling in the Franxx was made by Cloverworks.
Oh, it was a co-production.
Ah, okay. So my first thoughts were, the animation was really beautiful. I liked the motion. So basically how the story opens up is you're taken to an idyllic orphanage. Very Sound of Music-like, where cute, happy kids frolicking around and their mother happily chasing them around. The story focuses on three particular characters: Ray, Norman, and Emma. So Ray is going to be your typical Tsunandre character. He's brilliant, kind of aloof, and a brilliant strategist. And mind you, all these kids are super young. The oldest are these three main characters, which they tell you is around 11. They're about 11 years old. Then the other main character is Norman. So he's quiet and humble, and he's a genius. Followed by Emma. She is also one of the main characters. She's loud, boisterous, and she's one of those super positive, upbeat, can't nobody get me down kind of anime characters. So it's a good mix of different personality types. So my first impression of episode 1 was I really enjoyed it. It drew me in. It's a mystery. You can kind of tell, like halfway through the episode, that things quite aren't what they appear to be. For example, when they're showing the kids frolicking and playing, and at one point it's morning and they're having breakfast, as they're eating, you're seeing close-ups of the kids while they're eating their breakfast, and you can see that there are tattooed numbers on their necks. So that's like one of those, okay, something ain't right here. And then another instance where something was giving me the heebie-jeebies was in the opening scene where all the three main characters are standing like on the outskirts of the orphanage, and they're staring at these iron bars, and Emma makes a comment saying that, oh, we shouldn't be here, we're not supposed to be here, we should go before we get in trouble. And then I believe it's either Norman or Ray makes a comment saying, oh, well, when you get out, what are you gonna do? And then she goes, well, I haven't been outside yet, so, I'm really excited to see what's out there. So that's kind of number 2, like, well, why can't the kids leave the property? So they got tattooed necks, and they can't leave the property. This ain't good. So I really liked the suspense with that, because I was trying to figure out, okay, what the hell's going on here? And so it's an orphanage, and all of the characters, save for one, are all children. So as I said before, the three main characters, Ray, Norman, and Emma, are around 11 years old, and then all the other kids, save for like 1 or 2, are all younger than them. So as expected, they're kind of the caretakers the impromptu unofficial caretakers. They kind of help, wrangle all the kids. And so you're introduced to a character named Mom. So as the name implies, her job is to kind of take care of the kids, make sure they're fed, they're happy, and all this stuff. So as episode 1 progresses, you're starting to see little sprinklings that things aren't right, just with what they're saying. And I find that I loved the contrast between these really super happy, bubbly kids, but then like underneath it, you can tell something's wrong. It kind of made it, like, as I was watching it, the best way I can describe it is it was like a buzz underneath my skin. Like, you could
yes.
Right. Like, you could tell something was wrong, and I was tense, even though I'm looking at these really happy children, playing and laughing and all that stuff, but you could just tell something isn't right. And so it made you really anxious, because you were just like, what the hell's going on? So as it continues, one of the children in the orphanage is going to be leaving soon. So Mom packs up all of her things, and there's a really sweet moment when the little girl who's about to leave, and she's about 6 years old, is saying goodbye to basically all of her siblings. And, everybody's really sad, and they don't want to see her go, but the mom character is like, well, we have to go now. So you assume that she's leaving because she's been adopted out. So as Mom and this little girl are leaving the orphanage, Emma and Norman realize that the little girl left her prized bunny rabbit. So they grab the bunny rabbit, and then they run, because they want to make sure that she has it. So they leave the grounds, and they stand like in front of this gate, and Mom has always told them, you can't leave. The barrier is basically where the bars are and where the gate is. You have to stay on property. But, Norman and Emma, being kids, just think, oh, well, we'll get in trouble later, because, the little girl has got to have her bunny. So as they leave the property, as they go through the gate, they are walking, and I can't begin to describe like how eerie it is. And all they're doing is walking, but the animators did a really great job capturing like the suspense and like the anticipation, because like I was kind of bouncing in my seat like something. It's kind of like when you're watching a horror movie, right? And
well, it's I think very intentionally shot like a horror movie in that scene, specifically to put you on edge.
I was completely on edge, and it's like, and again, the best way to describe it is like if you're watching a horror movie, right? And if you know that the serial killer is in the house with the babysitter, and the lights go out, right? And the babysitter doesn't know, and she's going around into different rooms, you're super tense because you're kind of waiting for the serial killer to come out and knife her to death. So it's kind of like that anticipation where you know something big is about to happen, but you can't figure out where it's going to come from. So just them walking down this hall made me so incredibly tense. So as they're walking down this hallway, the scenery changes. So they go from a nice, grassy knoll, if you will, to like this almost like underground, gross, creepy kind of, I won't say like basement, but it's very similar to that. So then,
very dark place.
Yeah, very dark, very ominous. So then they come across this this like truck, and Norman and Emma are like, well, we don't see Mom and our little sister, so maybe we should look around. So, or excuse me, no, Emma goes, oh, Mom and the little girl probably are, gone, so we should probably head back before we get in trouble. But let me leave, the little girl's bunny, like, inside the truck, just in case Mom comes back for it. So as Emma pulls back the tarp on the truck, that's where they see the little girl's body. And literally, it looked like she was dumped like trash. So that scene is like heartbreaking, and you're just
It
like,
does not pull any punches.
at all. It's very much a shock value, because at this point we do realize something bad is going on because of the music, the direction, the ambiance that's been set up. But man, that was difficult. It's always difficult to see like a little kid, hurt or killed, even if it's animated. So like you said, they did not pull any punches. And so right when they discover her body, they hear voices, so they duck under the truck. So these two male voices walk towards them and begin speaking. And as just in that small interaction, you understand that the kids are on a farm, basically, that they're being raised like we would chickens. And every time a kid is adopted out, they're actually being killed and shipped off, butchered like meat. And you discover that mom is not only involved in it, but she's basically, the one that makes sure they're nice and fat and plump before they're led to slaughter. So you have these two kids, remember, they're like 11 years old, that have this horrible burden, and they're only 11. So that episode ends with them kind of understanding the situation that they're in, and trying to move forward and think of a way to save themselves and their family, basically. And you feel so bad for them, because they're little kids, and it's always, whenever little kids are always put, or excuse me, anytime little kids are put in danger, it feels just so much more real, because they're not adults. They don't have the maturity or the resources or the knowledge that you gain as an adult to put things in a context and think of a way to get out of a situation. So with that, the kids don't have that kind of knowledge working for them. So you have these two little kids that basically have discovered that the person that's supposed to be taking care of them is nothing but a butcher, and all of their siblings are next on the chopping block. So that's basically how the episode ends.
Okay, that was a good description of it, but what did you think of it and the episode in general?
So
how did it make you feel?
So my thoughts on the episode. So I really liked how tense the episode was. I thought they did just a really great job. I liked the pacing. I didn't feel like it was fast at all, because remember, it's 22 minutes, so they have to be very, accurate with their pacing. So I thought the little crumbs and little things that they did here and there, were very smart. I was very sympathetic to the children, and I really liked the voice actors, because the thing about anime is, no matter how beautifully drawn it is, you really depend heavily upon the voice actor giving the character personality. So I thought they did a really good job capturing the kids' vulnerability.
Especially considering that kids in general are really hard to get right. But yeah, as you said, I think they really nailed it.
They did such, because you feel their vulnerability, most definitely. So I thought they did a really good job with that. I liked the scenery. I liked how they use their space. And what I mean by that is, so before you begin to suspect something's going on, you see these really happy, healthy kids running around, having the time of their lives playing tag. But then, as little things get revealed here and there, I like how at first the orphanage seemed really idyllic, and then you see how isolated it is. You really start to pay attention. Oh yes, it's quiet and far and out of the way, but oh shit, it's out of the way. So it goes from feeling idyllic to threatening in 15 minutes. So yeah. I really liked that. And I like how, there are just so many awesome scenes where, so for example, after they've figured out what's going on and they know the score and the situation that they're in, and they run back to the orphanage, they Norman and Emma basically have a conversation of, okay, we have to act like everything's normal. We have to smile and, put on happy faces like we normally would. And them just going back into the house just feels so dark, so ominous, not welcoming and inviting like it was 15 minutes ago. So you really start to see, it's like your rose-colored glasses have come off. So I really like how they use, because I feel like in terms of animation, like, it's very minimalist, right? Like, even the house is pared down. There's not a lot of background in a way. You know what I mean? Like, it's very
it's very centered in like one location.
Right. And so so I like how smart the animators are with using that kind of, because it's, to me, it's kind of like a sparse background. So I really like how they utilize, like, even the space. So as I said before, when the kids regroup and go back to the house, determine that they have to act like everything's normal, even them just walking down the hallway is so creepy, because then the hallway, there's this really awesome scene where Norman is just walking down the hallway, and it's just so dark and, like, creaky, and just you feel like the hallway is like a giant mouth that's about to eat him, which is great symbolism because that's what's happening. So I think it's a really strong episode, and it's only episode 1. I thought that they did such a really good job, and I'm so looking forward to watching more of it.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you liked it. I was interested to see what your reaction would be, just because I know that you're very into the more sort of cutesy slice of life anime. And what I like about it is it kind of starts off feeling like that at first, and then gets sort of slowly more and more demented, and then just kind of like hits you in the face, when it gets dark. And this show gets really dark, and but I really enjoy the whole perversion of that. So it almost starts out trying to be like a slice of life show, and then, as you were saying, like, once they uncover the mystery of what's going on, this whole area that was once so idyllic and utopian is now like it's the most dangerous place. And for me, watching this show is like Dread incarnate. It's like, it does such a great job of utilizing like its angles and its lighting and its animation to really put you in that sense of dread. And what I love so much about this is it's such, I think, a Japanese idea. I don't know how you would ever like see a show remotely like this in the West, just because it's such a crazy and dark, twisted idea that, like, there's these kids just enjoying their life and now everything they've ever known is now almost like a weapon against them, including the mother character, who's supposed to be like this
loving figure.
Mothery figure, is now the monster that's trying to kill them.
Because she is literally, so she goes from, like you said, from being their loving, mother to literally the monster under the bed.
Yeah, and the more you watch the show, like, the more compelling she is, because she's like one of my favorite villains, because she is so good at acting motherly, but yet she'll like say a few sentences that will just make like the hairs on your neck just stand up, because behind that exterior is something very dangerous.
Totally. Oh, it's such a good episode. And that was just episode 1.
Yeah, and the show keeps doing some really interesting stuff. Like, I would definitely say it's not a perfect show. It does have its problems, but like, the stuff it does well, it does so well. Like I said, the sense of dread and like the way, like, what's it called, like, the way their characters evolve throughout the show is really, it's not only just a great character arc, but it's also a great arc for a kid to have. Like, I feel like portraying kids in media can be very difficult, because, for the most part, it's adults writing for kids, and like, I find a lot of TV shows and movies kind of lose the spark of what it is to be kids, and I think only a few shows kind of capture that. For me, that would be stuff like Stranger Things did a really good job of that, and so did the anime Erased. And I feel like although these kids are, I think, like some of them are a bit smart than most kids, but that's kind of a canon reason why they're even still alive, is because they're smart kids. And so that they do things that are very logical, but they also, like, the way that they have to react to things is still very evocative of how a kid would react to this stuff. And I think that's what makes it so compelling, is that the fact that these aren't adults in this situation. They're kids, they're vulnerable kids in a place where they know they're going to die if they don't do anything. And it just gives the whole show just this ongoing element of time. Like, time is a big theme of this show. Down from like when they're playing tag, you have that sort of really interestingly incorporated clock.
Oh yeah.
Down to even stuff like even the teddy bear has got this little clock in it. But like, and if you just listen to the sound design, whenever like it's a quiet moment, you always hear a ticking clock, just letting you know that even when you think it's safe, even when things are going, time's running out for these characters.
And a really interesting thing with episode 2 is that you figure out that they're on a timetable. Officially, they're on a timetable. They have 2 months to figure out a way to not only break out, but break out with everybody right under the nose of Mom. And then episode 2 reveals that somehow, some way, Mom has the ability to track them. So it's even more layers of, oh, they are screwed. Their deadline is they've got 2 months between when they figure out, when they've discovered, their true purpose on the farm, versus when the next kid is about to be shipped out. So you definitely do feel like there's a time crunch. Like, everybody on deck, we've got to figure this out. Oh, it's so good. I really like it.
Yeah, it really just gives, I think, the show a sense of stakes, so that a sense of stakes and urgency, so that even in the quiet moments when like they're having like a nice time, there's still constantly that element of time. Also, by the way, even though I'm not usually a fan of when animes or when it shows in general have their intros on the first episode, like I feel like it'll give away a bit too much. The intro of this show is bloody amazing, isn't it?
Most definitely. And, because anime, I feel like a big component to anime is the opening song and ending song. I love it. And like you said, I thought they did a really good job. And they incorporate a lot of elements and themes in the opening that's found throughout the episode. So there's, the sense of she's, like, there's a sequence where Emma is, running through the woods, but then all of a sudden it turns very threatening, and then there are the elements of clocks and the mom being super smiling in one scene and then dark and ominous in the other. So I thought they did like a really good job, and the song is really cool.
Yeah, I love that song, mate.
And I even like the ending song.
Yeah, no, totally. Oh man, it's just a really good show. I wouldn't say it's for everyone, because like I said, it is very dark, and there's some more dark moments to come.
Right. So if you don't like dark themes or episode or anime where children are put in very dangerous situations and or are killed, then I definitely wouldn't recommend it. If you like something more lighthearted and bubbly, this is not the anime for you. But if you like, an anime that's original, that's very smart,
yeah,
that's, definitely keeps you on the edge of your seat, an anime where you really care about the characters, I would say this is an anime for you.
Exactly. Yeah. If you really like, I think like it's got a really interesting, unique concept to it. The characters are great. I think the animation looks really good. Just like the little expressions that they use. Because there are some moments when like they literally can't say anything, and the only way you can tell sort of what's going on is just through their face. And the fact that they animated that was really good. But also the cinematography I thought was really especially great in this, like using the elements of time in the backgrounds, the editing, and even just like this anime does something which I haven't seen in most other shows, where they do a lot of first-person shots. Like, I don't think there was any in the first 2 episodes, but, like, there'll be some moments when, like, they're walking down the hallway, and you just see it from the character's perspective. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff in there visually, and it's just a all-around good time, but not for the weak of heart.
Oh, most definitely not. One of my favorite scenes from episode 2 is when Emma is standing in the hallway. So, all the little kids, as little kids do, draw, and Mom puts their drawings up on this particular spot in the hallway, and every time a kid, is adopted out, she then removes the picture. So there's this really awesome scene where Emma, after, they know what's really going on, she's standing in the hallway and she is looking at the space where the little girl's picture would have been. And then, she kind of closes her eyes in, remembrance, opens them, and then boom, you see a shot of Mom, like, towering over her. And I, jumped out of my seat a little bit, like, oh shit. Kind of thing. Like, this bitch is crazy, kind of a thing. So I really liked how they did that, because it felt like almost out of a movie, but it's animated. So I loved that. And then they do such a good job with drawing out the tension. It's amazing. So in that same scene, you have Emma, who's trying to act like everything is normal, despite knowing that, this woman is leading them into slaughter gleefully.
And they're not even allowed to grieve.
Oh my god, right? And then you have Norman, who's in on it, who knows what's going on, spots Emma talking to Mom, and you can tell he just wants to run and save Emma so bad, but they can't say anything. They have to act like everything's normal. And there's this awesome shot where his hand, like, closes into a tight fist because he wants to run out there so bad and save her, but he knows that they can't. Their lives depend on them acting like everything is absolutely normal. And then while Emma and Mom are having this exchange, Mom says, Emma, I noticed that you're not your usual joyous, boisterous self. What's going on? And then Mom takes her hand and gently cups Emma's cheek, and my skin crawled. I know. It's that, like, perversion of something that should be nice and sweet, but that, like, if that scene happened maybe in the beginning, it would have been, like, a nice little scene. But now it's horrifying. Right? It's terrifying. And then, she has to play along with it and say, oh, I'm just sad that little sister's gone. And then she gives her a hug, and just your skin just crawls. And then you feel Norman's complete helplessness because he's torn. Should he go out there? But then, reason kicks in and he's like, I can't. We have to act like everything's normal. And then my boy walks out and goes, oh, dinner's ready. So that scene breaks it up, and it's just like, oh, but like the tension that you feel with that is real, because you're like, oh shit, you have to act like everything's okay. And everything's not okay. And this is a monster. Like, literally, she's a monster. I just think they did an amazing job. It's really great. I can't wait to watch episodes, 3, 4, 5, all of them.
Well, great. I'm so glad to hear that you really enjoyed it. We must, like, once you, like, finish the whole thing, maybe we'll like have another episode where we just review, like, the whole show in general.
Oh, most definitely.
All right, cool. Well, let's move on then, shall we, to the things we're excited about corner.
Woot woot!
The things we're excited about corner.
So let's start with you. What are you excited about?
What I'm excited about is E3 just happened not too long ago, which is like a fairly big games event. And I'm excited because there was a trailer for a game called Watch Dogs Legion, which is set in London, which is set in my little town, and it's all about basically hackers and stuff. It just looks like a very fun game, and I'm really excited about it.
Neat. And what platform do you play it on?
I'd probably play this one on the PC just because, like, I can play it with higher graphics. But sometimes I like to play things on the PlayStation just because, like, the PlayStation controller is just fantastic.
Really? Okay, so that's cool that you're excited about. And was that 1 or 2?
That's actually number 3.
Number 3. Okay.
You ever heard of GTA?
Yes.
It's basically like Grand Theft Auto, but with hacking. So you can, like, hack all this stuff. So it's a big, like, open world city you can just play around with, but also, like, hack into people. And I think the big draw about this game is you can, like, play as anyone. In the trailer, you started off as, like, this, like, oh, I'm just a normal, like, bloke from the pub, but he actually dies during the gameplay. And then you become someone else. You become, like, this little old 80-year-old granny going around hacking and, like, fighting against the government.
Jesus.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. That's never really been done to this level in a video game before, where you can just literally just, like, play as almost anyone you meet on the street. So that's good. So that's what I'm interested in. Watch Dogs Legion.
Very cool.
What about you? Any things you're excited about at the moment?
Yes. One of those, interestingly enough, circles back to your review of of Star Trek Next Generations. So they've announced that Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart, is coming back. He's going to have his own series. A trailer has just come out, and I'm super excited because he is my favorite captain. I have watched all of the Star Trek franchise, and he is by far one of my favorite characters and my favorite captain. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's been up to, where he's going to go, what adventures we're going to see, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they're going to handle, aliens and battles and things like that using today's technology. And I'm really excited to see what further world building they're going to have in this series. So I'm super looking forward to that.
Do you think he's going to be like he was in Logan, where he's like an old man in the bed about to die?
Oh God, no, that's depressing.
The funeral of Jean-Luc Picard.
His final moment. No, that would be terrible.
That's really depressing.
No, luckily it takes place right after the conclusion of Star Trek Generations. So
wait, so like, is he like de-aged or something?
Oh no, so he's the same age, but it's, a time jump because it's been years since I don't want to give anything away because you still have to watch Generations, but it basically takes place after, so it would take place like now in terms of his timeline.
Right, yeah. So like the amount of time since Next Gen ended, but in that universe. Oh, okay, interesting. I like it. Well, good time to get into it then. I didn't even know this show was coming out.
I know, I'm so excited. And I believe that it's going to be on CBS Access.
Oh.
I know. I have so many streaming services, like I refuse to get another one just out of pure stubbornness.
Well, hey, seeing we're talking about that, I'll just bring up that we're not sponsored, but I'm just going to say ExpressVPN is very useful.
Yes, I'll follow that. Yes,
that's all I'm gonna say on that subject.
Yes, do you hear that, CBS? We love that.
All right. Well, with that then, that'll wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Ta-ta.